Friends, welcome to this episode of Leadosophy. You are here with an open mind because that is the rule and not the exception. I am grateful whether you are watching or whether you are listening. Regardless, you are taking the time out of your busy day, no doubt, to listen to some Leadosophy, some leadership and philosophy, the fusion of leadership and philosophy. So I'm grateful. Today we're going to talk about tomatoes, and I'm not kidding. We're in a little story that led down this rabbit hole of researching a company that produces some of the world's best tomatoes. As they say, NatureSweet, the company NatureSweet. It's a little kind of an organizational culture discussion and weaving in some leadership and how leadership applies to that organizational culture. I'm not promoting NatureSweet. I'm not sponsored by NatureSweet. Not that they need my sponsorship anyways. But I am going to talk about how I was led down this road of tomatoes and leadership. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Kind of fun. We're going to learn some things about the culture of NatureSweet, hopefully, and maybe some leadership lessons along the way. Here we go.
Are you ready to permanently fuse leadership and philosophy? Then a word of caution. You are about to enter the fully abstract yet wholly concrete realm of Leadosophy. Our ideas are not always so clear and distinct. To validate this proposition, we welcome the host of Leadosophy, Tim Woody.
All right, friends, welcome back. If you are watching, you get the pleasure of seeing NatureSweet cherub tomatoes, a little container of salad tomatoes, kind of shaped like an olive. Or not like an olive. Yeah, maybe like an olive. Probably more like a grape, about the size of a grape. Very delicious. I enjoy them on my salads. But I always look for leadership moments anyway I can find them, anywhere I can find them. And when I cracked open the delicious tomatoes, underneath the label was a picture of an employee of NatureSweet. And me being a sucker for leadership moments, my brain immediately went to celebrating accomplishments of employees, of people who work for you, talking about accomplishments, praising people in public, which this is obviously a kind of a public shout out to an employee. We're going to call them associates. NatureSweet refers to their employees as associates, which I find interesting. A lot of this is going to be about the language that is used in an organization, which is a very small part, well, maybe a bigger part than we may realize, of the organizational culture that is fostered, that is created, that is developed, that leadership tries to hold or make sure flows through the organization as all level managers and leaders. So I saw this label, and there's a website you can go to. So I went to the website, and if obviously you're watching, you can see the screen. If not, I'll try to keep this. I'll keep my audio listeners in mind as well. So I went to the website about the employees, and they have a bunch of like 30-second videos where they introduce their associates in all different phases of NatureSweet, whether they're picking tomatoes or they're in the research and development department, whatever. There's a bunch of different employees. I think NatureSweet has thousands of employees. I did a little bit of research on the company, but they have thousands of employees. So yeah, they have these little 30-second videos where the associate gets to talk about the company, what they love about it, whatever. So that led me down to another rabbit hole, and I found a YouTube video. And I'm going to play just a quick clip from the video. It's from 2021. It's from this year, April 23rd of 2021 in the spring. And it's celebrating the 28th anniversary of NatureSweet. But I want you to listen for about 10-second clip of what the person talks about as it applies to organizational culture. And when you hear these words, what comes to mind? So here we go. I'm going to play this.
NatureSweet is much more than just cultivating tomatoes. At NatureSweet, we cultivate families. We cultivate purpose. We cultivate culture. And we cultivate years of transforming the lives of agricultural workers.
So there you go. cultivate families, cultivate purpose, culture, and years of transforming the lives of agricultural workers. So that's a 20th anniversary celebration video that NatureSweet put together. I'll put a link to this stuff in the show notes. But also, so it's a 9-minute video, and if you want to watch it, cool. But I'm going to kind of give you just a couple highlights that stood out to me from the perspective of Leadosophy. And again, this is about language. The language that is used in an organization. What language are you using? What are the conversations that are happening? What are the celebrations that employees are having, in this case, associates? What are they talking about? What is the culture? And the culture, as I've talked about in previous episodes, we still have not deep dive into culture. Culture is much more than the way we do things around here. That is such a nutshelled slogan on culture that it's kind of a slap in the face to what culture is. Culture is very dynamic and very complex. And a kind of little disclaimer here from Leadosophy. Leadosophy doesn't claim to understand the culture of NatureSweet based on a YouTube video and scouring the website. There is absolutely no way an outsider can understand the culture of an organization without, and I mean fully understand the culture of an organization. You have consultants that go into companies all the time and try to do culture assessments or try to do some organization development stuff where they help organizations overcome maybe a cultural issue. But unless you are embedded in that organization, and I would say for an extended period of time, there's no way to fully understand what the culture is. So again, when I listen to a 9-minute video or I watch a 9-minute video clip on YouTube, I get a sense of what it might be like, what the culture is like, maybe how leadership fosters that culture, what the employees or the associates think about the culture of NatureSweet, but I by no means can diagnose what the culture of NatureSweet is. But anyways, all throughout the video on YouTube, there are testimonials from the associates. And again, associates are what NatureSweet or who NatureSweet says about their employees. That's what they're called. They're called associates. And even the term associates, it's interesting. Associates almost like a colleague or a partner in the development of the organization, which I find fascinating as far as language, the language used. But when the associates are talking about NatureSweet, and each employee is asked to talk about what it's like working for NatureSweet. And there's some common threaded themes that run through what they talk about. And again, when I kind of give some synopsis of what the associates are talking about, think about how leadership is fostering this environment. How does leadership play a role in leading these associates to talk about their company like this? Leadership must be playing some sort of role. Again, I'm going to talk about it on this podcast multiple times. Fertile soil, knowledge, tools, and resources, providing the right environment for successful people to find purpose, to have autonomy, to grow, to learn, and essentially to have part ownership in what that organization is creating, whether it's a service or a product. So again, one of the first common themes that if you watch this video and you hear the associates in NatureSweet talking about, they're talking about family and friendships over and over and over and again in this video, which I find fascinating because how many organizations out there think of their organization as a family. And this is not for everybody. And Leadosophy is very cognizant of that. Not everybody wants to go to work and have a family atmosphere or feel like it's a family environment, or they want to be close to people like family or develop deep friendships. That is not for everybody. And I think one mistake that leaders who are very passionate about their job have a hard time overcoming is they struggle with other people within the organization not sharing that passion. And that passion might even be in the form of thinking everybody is family, like this is a family. We should be bonding like a family. No, that's not true. That's not always true. That's not going to be the case for everybody. In some organizations, for most people, are not going to feel like that. If they do feel like that, I mean, I think there's a lot of research out there that says that leads to better relationships in the workplace. It may lead to better productivity, or at least the way the relationships between managers and the people that are managed or led. Some of those relationships, if they're a little deeper, might have more trust, whatever psychological safety, whatever fancy terms you want to throw out there. But again, leaders should recognize that Not everybody's going to want to feel like a family, want it to feel like a family environment at work. That's okay. But again, this family and friendships, and I think of relationships, the relationships that develop, right? If you go back to my last podcast, I talked about the human connection. The human connection is a real thing. It does not recognize boundaries between work and home. It does recognize when you're stuck behind computer screens, having meetings upon meetings for over a year, almost 2 years now, vice actually being in the presence of somebody, right? There's obviously a lot of talk in the business world now about what is being lost. Not people not being in the workplace, in the workspace, cultivating those relationships in person. There's a lot of talk where you go to Harvard Business Review, all LinkedIn, there's articles everywhere talking about that. It's a real thing. Human connection is a real thing. And again, I don't think human connection can sometimes see the boundaries between work and home, right? The way our brains are wired, that boundary, those artificial boundaries that we have created in the workplace are fairly new in the span of time of human history. So our brains have been wired for human connections for millennia. So anyways, I find the family and friendships talking over and over again fascinating. There's language in the YouTube video about transforming our lives. NatureSweet has transformed our lives. And when they say NatureSweet, they're talking about the people driving the train at leadership or conducting the train. Think about if you work in an organization, you say that organization has transformed your life. I mean, that's powerful stuff. And that's not just the organization, the synthetic organization. That's people in the organization making decisions, people in leadership roles. So I find that fascinating as well. Another very often talked about piece in the video from the associates is personal growth and professional growth. How NatureSweet is fostering that personal growth and professional growth, which is awesome. And then another thing is freedom to create a better place to work. Think about that, the freedom to create a better place to work. And again, this is the language that the associates are using. I'm assuming, Leadosophy is assuming that NatureSweet didn't hand these people a script and say, hey, this is the line I want you to say. And if they did do that, if NatureSweet did hand all of these associates a script and said, this is what I want you to say, I don't know if that's kind of misleading as far as wanting the public to kind of have this perception of how NatureSweet takes care of their employees or what NatureSweet's employees think about their organization. But I don't think that's the case. I'm going to operate on the assumption that these people had unlimited access or autonomy to say what they wanted to about NatureSweet and what NatureSweet has done for them as a person. So empowerment, that was also said a few times in this video from the associates. NatureSweet has empowered them. A common slogan, almost like a quick mission statement for NatureSweet. It's even on their website, and you'll hear this multiple times. Unleash the power of people. Unleash the power of people. If I go to their website, let me just click this real quick. If I go to About Us, they talk about, it's kind of have like some values up here on their website, right? When you go to About Us. But they say, we believe, this is NatureSweet's website, we believe the more we care for our people, the more they'll care about their work. Everyone is special. Everyone has value. And if our associates understand they're capable of anything, then anything is possible. As a business, we grow tomatoes, but our higher calling is to unleash the power of people. By making the produce industry more human, we've helped our associates reach goals in their work, academics, families, communities, and more. The happier they become, the more pride they take in their work. No tomatoes taste better than ours because none are better cared for. Now, there are a host of assumptions about human behavior, human performance that NatureSweet is making about their associates. All positive in Leadosophy's mindset. You can't go wrong making any of these assumptions about humans behave, what they respond to in the workplace. We have to assume, or I think it's smart for a leader to assume, that people want to reach goals. They may have academic aspirations in the workplace. They may want to, or they should want to accumulate more knowledge, more information, right? This is all back to giving them the knowledge they need to succeed, the tools they need to succeed, and the resources they need to succeed. So that's on the website. Again, I'll post a link on that. Other things they talked about in the video, back in the YouTube video, was a good working, just a general good working environment, which, again, environment, we talk about environment. I can't stress enough. I cannot overemphasize the importance of a leader's role in fostering the environment around the people. What are the obstacles and barriers that are keeping people from doing their jobs well, from pursuing goals or whatever, just like NatureSweet was talking about? What are the barriers and obstacles? You know, again, NatureSweet talked about helping their associates reach their goals. What are the barriers? Or what are the barriers? Leaders should be in constant search for barriers, for goals, whatever, aspirations, finding purpose, whatever that might be. Academic success. I found that interesting because I didn't know this about NatureSweet. So I'm going to go to the social responsibility and sustainability report for NatureSweet. And I think this is actually a couple years old. But I want to read something which I found really fascinating. So, education. It's important. This is NatureSweet's social responsibility and sustainability report. They write, education. It's important to invest in our associates' education because that leads to both empowerment and greater job satisfaction. Remember, listen to the language, empowerment, giving power away to other people. If you are a leader, do you have a problem with giving power away? Or do you try to hold on to that power as much as you can? And if so, why is that the case? What are you afraid of? They continue, we believe having the ability to read shouldn't be taken for granted. So we have reduced the rate of illiteracy within our workforce. Though it is already low by industry standards, we're quickly approaching our goal to eliminate illiteracy within our company by 2020. And again, I think this was 2019, maybe it's 2018. But that's the most updated one they have on their website. NatureSweet, you should update that. We have implemented a program called INEA, National Institute for Adult Education, at our Zapolton facility, which offers literacy levels of elementary school, middle school, and high school. Since 2005, we've had 835 students graduate from all levels of the program. That's fascinating. Shout out NatureSweet. Good job. Good job pouring resources, your own resources, into your employees that go beyond just the actual job skill scope. That's awesome. Shout out. So again, that's some stuff I took away from the video, some organizational culture stuff, kind of scratching the surface a little bit of organizational culture from my analysis of NatureSweet. And again, the whole time I'm scouring the website, I always go back to one individual leader within that organization. How enmeshed are they into all of this? How much do they believe that education is important? How much are they talking about that in the workplace? That's another kind of part of organizational culture, is what's talked about in the day-to-day in the workspace. Are leaders talking about empowering people? Unleash the power of the people. Are leaders saying that? When someone is new to the organization, they're in their onboarding process. What does that look like? And what are their roles in the very beginning phase of a new person's experience in the organization? What's the leader's role for introducing them to these concepts, this language? Because that sucks them in right away if they're hearing about empowerment, power to the people, right? It's important. Language is very important. That's how we communicate. We talk leader, you can find thousands of articles about how important communication is as far as leadership goes, leadership and management. How we communicate is just as critical as to what we communicate. They're both critical components, and why we communicate certain things. So I think I've talked about assumptions that I think NatureSweet's making about their employees in the beginning of this podcast. Here's kind of some takeaways I have based upon what I've read, what I've listened to. Again, NatureSweet wants people to connect to what they do, the products they create and the services they deliver. And the leadership within NatureSweet wants to foster and nurture the environment that allows its associates to connect with what they do and the purpose they serve. It's a connection, connecting that purpose. That hands-on skill that they're doing every day should hopefully foster some sort of purpose or create some fire in the belly. That's what you're hoping. But how do you inspire that as a leader? That's one of your jobs, is not to motivate that process. What conditions are you creating that will hopefully inspire people to want to do more? And by want to do more, I don't mean work harder, because Leadosophy is kind of a fan of, if your processes are really good, people shouldn't have to work super hard to just kind of get by and do the job. If they have to work super hard just to kind of do the job, then maybe you have some dysfunctional processes that you have to look at. Anyways, that's maybe another conversation. I think I've talked about that before on other podcasts. But anyways, this is not, what I like is, this doesn't seem, and again, I'm going off the testimonials from the associates. It doesn't seem like a forced process. This doesn't appear like kind of the outside looking in, right? Again, fertile soil. Feels like there's some fertile soil within this organization, which allows them to function successfully, allows their associates to talk or have high praise for who they work for, which I think is super cool. Again, the importance, the fertile soil, the environment, so important for creating those conditions where people can self-discover what human flourishing means to them. Not a leader saying, hey, this is what it means to flourish as a human in an organization. No. Human flourishing, and this is a very philosophical term. Human flourishing is back to Aristotle, we're going to geek out a little philosophy here, but Eastern philosophy, Western philosophy, ancient philosophy has talked about this concept. Even modern philosophy, we talk about what's it mean to flourish as a human. What is this purpose that we're trying to find? How do we find purpose? Again, Leadosophy believes this is largely a self-discovery process. And hopefully, it seems like maybe NatureSweet is allowing the associate space to discover their purpose and to flourish on their own. Whether that's through literacy programs, increasing their education levels, all of it seems super cool from Leadosophy's standpoint. So another assumption I think NatureSweet is putting forth here, and I say that because it's what you read on their website. They don't see its people as workers. They see them as, and this is a quote, extraordinary humans with infinite possibilities, capable of anything. And again, linking back to the Human Connection podcast, right? Viewing people more as cogs in the machine, viewing people as more than just a means to the organizational objectives or the organizational ends. The workers aren't just means to what NatureSweet is trying to do. Granted, they are contributing. They're part of that means to an end, but NatureSweet also sees them in the same light as an end in themselves. The employees, the associates are ends in themselves. People with goals, dreams, aspirations, hopes. They want to do better things for their family. They want to learn. They want to be educated, want to increase their literacy levels. That kind of stuff extends far beyond just growing great tomatoes. And again, another kind of little slogan is, we're groundbreakers. That's what NatureSweet says. We're groundbreakers, right? Again, very, very powerful language used. Can we assume that everyone in the organization believes this? Are there mid-level managers promoting this ideology that we're groundbreakers? And again, I've talked about that multiple times on this episode. The leadership, the management within NatureSweet, what language are they using on the day-to-day? Not just in a video that they put out, celebrating their anniversary. Not just on the website. To truly understand if this is actually happening, you have to be with NatureSweet on the day-to-day, which Leadosophy is not. But Leadosophy is making the assumption here that this kind of language is coursing through the organization on a daily basis. And shout out to the leadership of NatureSweet. Top down and bottom up. Again, bottom up drives the culture as well. There's a lot of people that say that the top drives the organizational culture, and that's true. That's largely true. But everyone, if we take at face value what NatureSweet says, and everyone is empowered. Everybody is autonomy, right? Everyone at the bottom is driving their culture back up. They're taking accountability and responsibility for what they are doing, and they're driving that culture back up. And it becomes a self-fueling, this reinforcing vicious cycle in a good way, an organizational culture kind of cycle that just reinforces itself. And again, it's like I envision when a new employee comes on board to NatureSweet, they get sucked into this positive cycle of language, of culture, of how we do things, of how you're treated, of higher purpose, human flourishing, all this stuff, which is fascinating. I'm going to leave you with one last link, and we'll cut it there. Funny enough, I found this article on the Webernet, the internet. This was out of San Antonio, Texas on August, just last week. So out of San Antonio, Texas. It's written by Chandler James. It's from the And Now You Know website. He says, quote, "Insight can go a long way in this industry, and for NatureSweet, it has taken the company to the Winners Roundtable for the second year in a row. Deuce, for the second year in a row. The supplier gained recognition in the tomato category in the trade publication Grocery Insights. Category Leadership Awards 2021. Shout out NatureSweet. Category Leadership Awards 2021. The Category Leadership Awards honor companies leading in their respective categories through their mission, innovation, sales, and overall footprint in the industry. A press release went out to note that these awards also signify distinguishment amongst peers, customers, and consumers." So there you go. I was researching NatureSweet and found this article much later in the process of researching. So maybe that kind of puts a cap on what we've been discussing here. Maybe that kind of solidifies what is actually going on in the business, in the organization. So kudos to NatureSweet leadership team and all of the associates that make NatureSweet tick and grow delicious tomatoes that I love to put on my salad. So that's it. Again, this was not sponsored by NatureSweet. This is just me doing a little leadership deep dive into an organization that in a positive light. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember, Leadosophy is about using the tools of philosophical thought to deepen our understanding, collectively, our understanding of leadership and life. Thanks for watching, everyone. We will catch you next time.
Thanks for watching and listening to another episode of Leadosophy. If you liked what you heard today, hit that subscribe button and check out Leadosophy.com and learn more about Tim's ideas on philosophy and leadership. We'll see you next time.